Thanks, VG. Oh, hey, what's up, man?
For a YouTube video?
Yeah. You don't mind trying it out? I mean,
sure.
Testing your common sense, right?
Sure. Is it cool if I'm not in, like,
sure,
if my face is blurred?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you want your face blurred, that's fine.
Or
I might not even post it, as well. So, so 3 very easy, common sense questions. See if you could get 2 or 3.
Okay.
So the first one, I have 2 images here, and the reason I call them images is because one of them's a photograph and one of them's a painting. So I want to see if people can tell the difference.
Oh, interesting. I think this is the painting.
Okay, fair enough. It's actually a trick question. They're both paintings.
Nice.
Yeah, so I don't expect people to get this.
This one looks really good, actually.
Yeah, actually it does. There's actually a time lapse of this one being done online. You can look it up. It's pretty famous, yeah. So there is 2 reasons why I asked this question. It has to do with common sense, obviously, because I don't expect people to get this. The first reason is just believing someone opens the door to being deceived, right? Because you're believing that one's a photograph, that influenced your choice, right? So it's not good to just believe something. So the second reason is if we want to determine something is real, an image is not good enough. Because if I show you an image of me flying or me walking on water, would you believe I could do those things? No, right? Because that defies physics. So if an image defies physics, we should throw the image away, if you ask me. So these next 2 have to do with elementary physics. It has to do with water. Physics is what it is, so I can't lie to you. So could we agree? Water, always needs to be contained. And when contained, it always seeks the lowest point. Because I could turn the bottle upside down, but water always goes to the bottom.
Sure.
So water always seeks the lowest point of the container. It's a fact about water. So since we understand that fact about water, that it always goes to the bottom of the container, I painted the water blue with food coloring just to make it easier to see. But since we understand that fact about water, that it always goes to the bottom, how I'm showing you these 2 photographs, which one is upside down? Because we understand the physics of water always seeks the lowest point, the bottom. Which one is upside down?
Neither.
You don't think neither's upside down?
I think the camera's upside down here.
You think the camera's upside down?
Yeah, because his thumb looks like he's pushing.
I see. I never heard that one before, but I'll tell you, I actually took this one upside down. So you were kind of close. The reason I took this one upside down because I was holding it up to the ceiling like that.
Yeah.
So the camera wasn't upside down. It was the whole background. The whole thing basically was upside down. Bottle, the thing, And this one I just took right side up on the table.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, you were close, but yeah, this one's the one that was upside down because the water obviously can't stick to the top. I can never make the water stick to the top of the bottle. That's impossible.
Yeah.
So, all right. So these last one's even easier. It's the easiest one. So another thing about water, have you ever heard water always finds its level? No matter what direction I tilt it, it always levels out.
Okay.
Right? Would you agree? Mm-hmm. What would be another word for level if you had to use a different word?
Another word for level.
I
guess balance.
Balance is a good one. Yeah. Horizontal is actually the proper definition for level because you could have a straight line that's at a slope. It's not level. It has to be a horizontal straight line.
Yeah.
That's what level is, right? That's why they use these in construction to make sure it's straight, right? So since we understand the fact about water as well, and it always finds its level, right? This is the easiest one. Which one of these 2 represents level as we know it?
As we know it, this one.
Yeah, it's obvious, right? So the real reason I do this is because over 95% of the population, including myself and maybe you, have been tricked to believing this is what level means, even though we know it's this one. You want to know how we were tricked?
How?
Do you believe the Earth is a ball? Or a sphere, right? Yeah. So NASA in specific, they claim to have satellites orbiting the Earth, so they need to know the radius of orbit, so they need to know the radius of the Earth if they're supposedly going around it. So they do tell us the radius of the Earth is 3,959 miles, which gives us a circumference of 24,901, which means there has to be curvature every mile. So the first mile is an 8-inch drop, second mile 32 inches, by the third mile it should be 6 feet of curvature. And in 10 miles, they should be 66 feet because it keeps increasing. It's not a slope, it's a curve, right? So if we actually went out in nature, like a giant lake that was miles across, to measure for this curvature, the water is going to show us that it's going to be parallel to anything horizontal, above. But they're trying to tell us that the water's bending 6 feet in 3 miles. But if you ask me, this will be the #1 experiment to debunk the globe, a physical measurement of the Earth, water in specific, the levelness of water. So if I was to ask you, what's the #1 proof or reason that makes you believe that the Earth is a ball?
If you were to go up very high into space, or like not even into space, like up like on a high skyscraper, no matter how far you go, there's always a limit to how far you can see the horizon.
Okay, so you think the horizon is the curvature of the Earth? Would that be a fair thing to say? Right? Yeah. Okay, so here's the thing with the horizon. So if I hold an object in front of you and I keep moving it away from you, could we agree that that object's going to appear to get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller the further I go?
Sure.
So you would agree that we have a limit to how far we can see, right?
To an extent,
right. I mean, we do have a limit to how far we can see. I mean, you won't be able to see this object obviously half a mile away, or you know, depending. So my point is the horizon. I don't know if you knew this. Is actually an apparent thing. It's not a physical thing. So the horizon is just the limit of perspective. So that's just the vanishing point of how far we can see. Because if that was truly the curvature of the Earth, when we rise up, like you said, like in a skyscraper or a helicopter or a mountain, the higher we go up, the lower we should look down on the horizon. The higher we go up. If that's truly the curvature of the Earth going down. Mm-hmm. In reality, the higher you go up, the more you increase your angle of view and you see further in front of you. So the horizon always rises with you. So everybody has their own horizon. Again, it's all based on your limit of how far you can see. And the higher you go up, the further you can see because you're increasing your angle of view, basically. Mm-hmm. So, real quick, these photographs or images, whatever you want to call them, they were taken from 20 miles in the sky without a GoPro lens, so with a standard camera. Okay. And the horizon always, again, rises to the camera, that level of the camera, and it always remains horizontal. You know what I'm saying? So your only place you're ever going to see curvature of the Earth is through GoPro cameras that, you know, have a wide-angle fisheye lens that bend horizontal lines, or, again, CGI cartoons, you know, that they've always shown us, you know, like this. This is an official NASA image from 2012. And that is a cartoon, basically. They call them composites. You know what I'm saying? So they're not real, basically. So.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you have any questions about this subject? I know you've heard of this subject before, you know.
Yeah, about the flat Earth.
Flat Earth, yeah. I try to stay away from that word because I know there's a lot of mocking going on. There's a lot of, they're trying to group people into, you know, I'm not part of any group, by the way. I'm by myself. I just came across this in 2016. And I just resonated. It just resonated with me, right? You know, it made sense completely.
Yeah. Give me a quick second.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
yeah.
I mean, real quick before you go, because I know it's a lot of information, but this is what the stars actually look like. Because a lot of people would say, well, what about the planets? You know, if the planets are round, why isn't Earth round? Well, we've been lied to about outer space as well. Not only that, the whole model we've been lied to. So outer space is just the concept. So you understand how air pressure works, right? So if you want a higher pressure system here, we're gonna need a physical container, right? Like a deodorant can, for example. Mm-hmm. What happens when you punch a hole in that higher pressure system?
Pressure decreases.
Exactly, because pressure always wants to equilibrate. It always wants to find equilibrium. Mm-hmm. That's why you need a physical containment to separate the two. They're trying to tell us that outer space is a negative pressure system compared to Earth's pressure, without a pressure though, without a container. I mean. To hold in the pressure. So that I would say outer space defies physics.
Negative pressure.
Well, compared to Earth, we have 14.7 psi allegedly here on Earth. They're saying that outer space is under that. It's like almost a perfect vacuum, right? It's not a perfect vacuum, but it's almost. In other words, the air's pressure should just be instantaneously rushed out into space to equilibrium. That's what air does, unless it's being physically contained. Mm-hmm. So I would say the Earth is actually being contained somehow. I'm not biblical myself. I'm not religious at all. But the Bible does talk about a dome that's basically encompassing. Because I believe we are in some kind of a contained environment. Yeah. I believe the Earth is some kind of contained environment based on what physics shows it. You know, air pressure has to be contained, water has to be contained. You know, so if you ask me, the continents are just like a bowl for the oceans. That's where I think the word continent comes from the word container. You know, because the continents have to be at higher elevation to contain the water like a bowl. So if Antarctica actually exists, you know how they tell us Antarctica is at the bottom of the globe? Mm-hmm. If Antarctica actually exists, it's actually a ring around the Earth, higher elevation than the sea level, basically, kind of keeping all the water in, you know.
And what's that ring made of?
Ice. And then what's ice made out of? Water. What's water made out of? I don't know. And that's even if it's real, you know. I don't even know if that's true or not. Again, I don't know if you knew there's an Antarctic treaty that keeps anybody from exploring Antarctica or even going past it to see if maybe we could find another Earth pond. You know, there could be other Earth ponds as well, if you ask me. I don't think we're the only pocket or the only pond here on Earth, you know what I'm saying? So there is an Antarctic treaty keeping us from exploring too. So a lot of people would ask, well, why come we found the edge? Well, because they don't let us. Another thing is that I don't have the money to do it. And anybody that becomes a millionaire, if you ask me, it kind of goes against all this. You know what I'm saying? This kind of exposes everything that how they're fucking us with the economy. So somebody that has the money, I don't think they're gonna go against their own wealth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's a pretty fucked up situation we're in right now. Like, that rich people have the ability to explore, but they don't have the will to do it. You know what I'm saying? Because again, this subject is so ridiculed that they won't even look at it. You know what I'm saying? They're just too busy making money right now. You know.
So what would they have to gain from convincing people?
Yeah. Okay.
Hold on. Yeah.
Okay. So I like that you asked that question. So first and foremost, I'm not the one lying, so I don't know the ultimate reason why they're lying, right? But from what I can see, the obvious reasons is NASA alone gets over $70 million a day from taxpayers, so they get over $20 billion a year. So that's one reason. It's obviously a scam, a tax scam. They could be hiding other land, you know, unlimited resources and basically. But if you ask me, one of the main reasons why I think they do it is for control. So you might ask yourself, well, how do they control? Well, they do it so they warp your common sense, basically. They could disconnect you from your own intuition, your own reasoning, and your own ability to think for yourself and make decisions for yourself. Then you're always just going to be a follower. You know what I'm saying? So if you're always just going to be a follower, you're always going to just obey what you're told about from someone else that you think is smarter than you. So it's about dumbing us down. That's what it comes down to. So it's not so much about the shape of the earth, but it's about dumbing us down. If they could get you to completely disregard your common sense and get you to believe something that's completely not true, then I hate to say it, they dumb you down. Now you're just gonna obey and just do what you're told. So it's about control.
Because that sounds, I mean that sounds like a lot of speculation.
Oh,
right.
Again, like I said, I'm not the one lying. You know, so some people might say that they're lying to protect us. Maybe they found something about this reality that might not sit well with most people. So they lie to us to protect us, right? Some people think that. I don't think so, but you know.
Yeah, but that's assuming that they're lying to begin with.
Well, that's the thing.
Because you're saying that your speculation is like they're lying to keep us dumbed down and whatnot. But I mean, in the end of the day, it doesn't, whether the Earth is flat or the Earth is round, doesn't really affect us like
but that's the thing.
Everyday life.
Okay, like for example, Santa Claus existing or not existing doesn't affect your life. If that's true. But if an adult believes in Santa Claus, what does that say about that adult?
That they're gullible.
Exactly. So that means they're willing to believe. I mean, if they're willing to believe that, what else are they going to believe, right?
Yeah, but
they're like a child mentality, basically.
Yeah, but Santa Claus is a tale that we tell children.
Just like water bending, it's a tale that we tell children, and we grow up believing it.
Yeah, except you can feel physical water. You walk on a physical earth. Whether the earth
no,
is
but
flat,
what I'm saying is that they're telling us that the surface of water is bending. I would say that's a fairy tale, just like Santa Claus flying with his reindeer.
Why would it be a fairy tale?
Because his physics proves that it always finds its level.
Do you believe in gravity?
Well, gravity, I would say, when it comes to establishing the shape of the Earth, I would say is a red herring. You know what a red herring is?
Yeah, I know what a red herring is.
So the reason why is because the reason why things fall has nothing to do with physically measuring the Earth's curvature. It's a completely separate subject. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
But what do you mean by that?
So because something falls, whatever the reason that made this thing fall, even if it was gravity, I don't know if you knew gravity is actually a theory, but even if it was gravity, all the oceans and the lakes on Earth should be displaying this curvature. And my point is that the physics of water will debunk the claim of gravity bending the oceans. Because I know that that's the main reason people bring up gravity, because if gravity is real, then it must be bending all the oceans. Okay, if that's true, then let's go physically measure this curvature, this 8 inches per mile square. That's what they're telling us that the Earth is.
I'm sure we can.
6 years into this, and if you ask me, NASA could have proven this with $1 million of their daily budget. They get over 70 million a day. They could have easily proved this and just shut all flat earthers down already. 6 years ago, 7 years ago when this came. Why aren't they? That's a little weird, right? They're letting this grow and they're not doing nothing about it. Like, if you ask me, they're doing the opposite. They're not trying to prove the globe. They're just trying to trick people again with images. You know, NASA to me is just a magic show. You know what I'm saying? Anything that they're showing you through that screen. I mean, people know about Hollywood green screens, blue screens nowadays, augmented reality. They actually use augmented reality too. They've been caught using augmented reality in their live streams. Because live streams can be, live streams are live streams, so there could be glitches on live streams, and people do catch those.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm not disputing that.
Yeah.
But what I'm talking about is the physics, not
yeah, physics of water is the number one proof.
Because you called gravity a theory.
Yeah.
Right?
What do you mean
by that?
Do you know who Neil deGrasse Tyson is?
Yeah.
Okay, let me 20-second clip real quick. Neil deGrasse Tyson. They asked them They asked him what is gravity, and this is his response. Just real quick.
What is gravity?
You have no idea. Okay, next question. Wow. No, here's the difference. We can describe gravity. We can say what it does to other things. We can measure it, predict with it. But when you start asking, like, what it is, I don't know.
So what he's saying is that we can measure it, predict with it, right? What he's talking about is they measure the rate in which things drop. You heard of 9.8 meters per second, right?
Yeah.
How long it takes an object to reach the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So they're measuring the effect, which is, again, how long it took this to reach the ground. They didn't measure the cause that made this go to the ground. So that force that they're claiming that's underneath pulling everything down, it's made up. That's my point. The real reason why things fall, it's a phenomenon. You know what a phenomenon is, right? It means nobody actually knows. We can observe it, we can test it, we can measure it, we can predict with it, but what's causing it to fall? But they want to make you believe in gravity, because that's one explanation that would explain the water bending. They would explain orbits. They would explain, the Big Bang. It explains everything. It's just an explanation like a religious person. You know what I'm saying? If you ask me.
Well, yeah, I mean that's.
It's not proof.
Well, that phenomenon you're talking about, that's what the word gravity describes.
Well, you could use the word gravity as kind of like just a different word to say fall. What is falling? Well, it's an object falling through space, right? What's causing it to fall? That's where gravity can answer. But they're trying to claim that it's a force. You know what I'm saying? But it's not. It has to be. You could look it up. It's a theory. Even Neil deGrasse Tyson has to admit it.
Yeah. What do you mean by that? It's a theory.
A theory meaning it hasn't been proven. So the claim that mass attracts mass. That's what a theory. That's not
what a scientific theory is.
Well, a scientific theory takes a natural phenomenon, and then obviously they're trying to take the natural phenomenon of things falling and then creating their own story behind it. That's the only difference between a theory, a completely made up theory, or a theory based on something we observe.
Well, that's kind of simplified. That's not exactly what.
Can you tell me the definition of scientific theory then, so I can get a better understanding?
Yeah, a scientific theory is when you is basically an explanation for a physical phenomenon, basically.
Exactly. And what is a phenomenon? Ultimately,
like what you just described right now.
Something we don't know, right? So a theory is just someone's idea or someone's speculation.
Okay, so we know things fall.
Yeah.
Okay, we know that.
Yeah, I know that.
Okay, so we can measure things falling.
Exactly.
And say the what's it called, the Mars probe.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I would say again, anything about the sky, I would say it's again red herring as well to establishing the shape of the Earth. So the lights in the sky, satellites going out of the Earth, all of that, it's a red herring.
You think the sun is a red herring?
No. The sun is there.
Round.
What
so
the
why
sun
is
is?
Round?
That's just the way. I think it's round because it's supposed to illuminate light to the whole Earth. So I think round, like 360 degrees, is like the best shape for light to go in every direction.
But who decided that?
The creator. This place was created. That's another thing that they're lying to us about. They want to make us believe in the Big Bang Theory. I don't know if you guys knew the first law of thermodynamics, energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only transform from one form to another. That's a law.
Okay.
That debunks the Big Bang Theory. It doesn't debunk evolution, but it debunks the Big Bang Theory, which then debunks evolution, if you ask me.
Well, I'm not making any claims on the Big Bang Theory. That to me sounds like a red herring, because we're talking about whether the Earth is flat. You're talking about the Big Bang
My
Theory.
point is that this place was a creation. So if you're asking, why is the sun round? Well, it's just the way it was created. I don't know that. I honestly don't know. What I know is the physics of water and how it relates. Okay. And that's what I know. Have you heard of Euclidean plane geometry? Euclidean plane geometry. So is the geometry assumed to construct everything we see, from railroads, bridges, everything we see, long distance, even for flights? Euclidean plane geometry. So that means we assume that the Earth is a level plane.
I'm sorry, what was that again?
Euclidean plane geometry.
Euclidean?
Euclidean.
Okay.
Yeah. It was I forgot, it's Euclid of Alexandria, I think, or something like that. It was the guy that founded these postulations.
Okay.
But again, it's being used today. That's my point. We don't assume this 8 inches per mile square underneath when we're building long distances like railroads. Everything is done on the assumption that the Earth is a level plane. All the blueprints show that. All the blueprints are not going to show 8 inches per mile square when you're building over the Earth.
Well, the blueprints are supposed to be a simplified, schematic, basically, like an overhead perspective.
And it's all in Euclidean plane.
So obviously you want to make it flat to make it simple for humans to understand.
But if we're building over a curve, wouldn't that make it unpractical? That it won't match up. If those blueprints are flat, but we're building over a curve, That's kind of weird, don't you think?
When you're talking about engineering, they take all that into account. Then they put the blueprints in to make it simpler, right? Because in the blueprints, certain beams they have certain what are they called? Certain beams are thicker in certain places than others to account for the forces of not just gravity but nature as well, like the winds and.
Real quick, because you're talking about beams. So you know what a plumb line is, right? A downwards vector, a plumb line.
Yeah.
So when you put a weight on a string, that's perfectly vertical, right?
Sure.
100%. Perpendicular to the horizontal, you could say.
Yeah.
A plumb line.
Okay.
In engineering, obviously, when constructing long distance, I don't know if you knew this, all downward vectors, which are plumb lines, are considered parallel to each other, regardless of the distance. You know what that means?
That means that it'd have to be a flat plane everywhere for it to be like that.
The globe, it doesn't fit that model because all plumb lines will be at different orientations. Because all downward directions are different. In reality, all downward directions are parallel. And you can look at this in engineering class or in wherever, you can look it up on Google. They might try to word salad some of this stuff when you go on Google. Like when you try to find, it's the ocean, are the oceans level, right? You try to Google that. They literally word salad the fuck out of that to try to make it seem, it is level. It's equal distance from the center to the surface of the earth. That's how they redefine level. So they're trying to say that a basketball is level because the surface is equal distance from the center of the basketball. So, but in reality, level means horizontal. It means no deviation in elevation from one point to another.
You've taken calculus, right?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, I've taken some calculus. You could say that. Yeah.
So you're familiar with like tangent lines on a circle, right? Like,
sure.
Like when you zoom in close to a circle, there's gonna become a point where
I've actually done this before.
God, I forget the name. I haven't taken math in a while, but yeah. So when you zoom in, there's basically a line that only intersects the circle at one point.
Right.
But also if you zoom in close enough, that circle
line
also
is
looks
flat.
Yeah, flat.
So I actually done this.
So I'm pretty sure if you looked at a basketball in that same way and you shrunk a human down to to scale down to the size of like us.
Yeah.
Relatively the shape of the earth to our size, and then the shape of the basketball down to
and that's why I
size
say
that was.
then that's why I say long distance measurement, miles. You know what I'm saying? Because the water's not even going to show an inch of deviation regardless of the distance. We could go 20 miles. It's not even going to bend an inch. That's the thing. The curvature, they could tell us the earth is twice the size. They're telling us 50,000 miles in circumference. Half of this curvature should still be there. The fact is not even an inch is going to be there.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at your diagram right here, and it's assuming that that this is the level structure.
Yeah, we're gonna build.
We're basic, because what's going on here?
So
are the beams exactly the same?
No,
height,
we're focusing on the squares.
Heights?
We're focusing on the squares. We're gonna build them perpendicular, one after the other. These are just gonna be support beams to hold the structure. This is what we're gonna keep level.
Yeah,
the beams are irrelevant. They could be different. This could be all the way up here. The beams, fuck the beams. It's the structure itself that we want to make level.
Well, I think the beams are important to point out because if this is 5 feet, right?
No. I'm measuring the distance between the bottom of the structure, which is gonna be straight eventually, to the top of the water, the surface of the water.
Because what you're trying to say is if the world is really a
Bending,
globe,
exactly.
then this
The water
level structure, it'll be just like the tangent line to the circle. It'll just be a line over a
Exactly.
circle.
It'll be kind of like this,
Yeah,
like
but in this case, if the water is truly level, it's all gonna stay the same distance like this.
Exactly. Hey, you know how to use your brain, right?
Okay, but can you prove this level structure?
It's 100% accurate. That's the thing. We could build it over maybe 98, 99% accurate, but we can compensate for that 1%. It's gonna be inches when it should be feet. That's my point. Again, we'll be able to compensate. I know what you're talking about because not human beings cannot build, especially the longer we build, 100%. Level. It's gonna be almost impossible, right?
Well, I'm not talking about the
levelness of the structure.
margin of error. What I'm talking about
what are you
is
talking about?
if you were to build a level structure, because this is relative to the actual water level. Okay, that's assuming the Earth is flat. But if the Earth is round, then the distance here would stay exactly the same. Like the level structure would curve along with the Earth.
Okay, I see what you're trying to say.
Okay, so you're saying that we can never build a level structure is what you're saying. We're always going to build a curve.
We can build a level structure, but then, if the Earth was truly flat, then, obviously, like, the beams would would stay the same. But if it wasn't flat and we wanted to build a level structure, meaning it's completely straight with zero curvature.
We're not measuring the beams. We're measuring the distance from the structure to the water.
That's what I'm saying. The beams, like from here, the level of structure to the water.
Yeah.
If the earth was flat,
then it will be parallel to any horizontal structure. But if the earth was...
But if the earth wasn't flat, if it was curved...
Then this is what the water should do. The gap should increase.
Yeah.
By 6 feet. So if we start at 5 feet, the gap, in 3 miles, that gap should increase to 11 feet.
Yeah, so
that's 6 feet in 3 miles.
So first you would have to prove that this level structure is actually completely flat.
Exactly. That's why we have to invest money into building something like this. We have to use the right materials with less stress, very light material. And this is easily possible, to do. Especially if they're claiming that the Earth is truly bending. NASA alone gets $70 million. I was just telling them, $70 million a day. So they could easily use $1 million, maybe $2 million out of that budget to build a 1-2 mile structure over a body of water, making it perfectly. And our starting point is gonna be a plumb line. So we're gonna start from a plumb line, and that's gonna be our reference point where we start. You know what I'm saying? Because I know what you're saying. If we build it level, we're gonna build it curved.
Mm-hmm.
No, we're gonna stay parallel to this, perpendicular to this first point, and build from this straight. So this last block is gonna be perpendicular to this plumb line. You know what I'm saying? So it's not gonna start to deviate like you might think. So we're gonna get an accurate measurement. Is my point. But this experiment, you'll never hear anyone talking about it in the mainstream. Even flat earthers don't even talk about this. I would say those flat earthers are controlled opposition. So they're fake flat earthers. They're just there. I would say they're government plants in a way, or just trolls, one of the two. But they don't take this serious, and I can easily see through them. Easily.
The thing is, I'm wondering is what is your goal by telling people this?
Oh yeah. So first of all, do you like being lied to?
No.
What about lied to you about your existence and your whole being? No, right? That's not fair, right? So that's why I'm sharing this, because it's literally encompasses our whole lives. It's encompassed by it.
And another thing is, where are you learning these things from?
My reality.
From your reality,
Yeah.
okay.
We're all scientists. I don't know if you knew that. So a scientist is someone that experiments with a reality to see what happens.
Okay.
So I have a 2-year-old, a daughter. She wants to try everything. She wants to do everything herself to see what happens, toss things off the table. That's a scientist. Fuck with things just to see what happens. That's how you learn. That's literally how we learn. See what happens, now we learn. If human beings, we're supposed to be learning, we're supposed to be trying to get better, So scientists, being a scientist, it's in our nature, if you ask me, but that's robbed from us, as a child. Because what do they do to us? They don't tell us, they don't teach us how to think, they tell us what to think. They teach us what to think.
Okay.
So they want to make it seem that only certain people can be a scientist, and then you have to get a degree to prove that you can be a scientist. So it's just it's a hierarchy structure that they build, basically, to keep the majority down. And that's why they lie to us about our existence, to build this hierarchy structure so that the majority think that there's a few people that are just smarter than the rest.
I see.
So it's about control, basically. So again, I do have some information that I do share, because again, if you go online right now on Google, you're gonna get nothing but ridicule, misrepresenting, misinformation, basically. But these are the 6 main proofs, and I left some websites on there that you can use to cross-reference. Don't believe me. Don't believe anyone. Trust your own common sense. Your own logic, your own reason. And the best thing I could do is just cross-reference.
But do you have any idea of what the point of telling people the Earth is
evolved? Yeah, it's about control. It's about dumbing us down, basically. It's just.
I think a more effective way of controlling people would be telling them that they have to get a vaccine.
People do that. People are doing that.
So telling people that the Earth is flat and round just seems pretty innocuous, really.
I would say the vaccine thing is it's the next. It's not even the next step. It's just something that becomes so obvious. Let me just say this. I don't like to use this word, but any flat earther. Well, maybe because they're in the middle. Maybe they're not real truthers, right? Maybe they're still in the middle because they're a little gullible still. But most truthers that I know, well, I don't even know them, but from what I've heard, didn't get vaccinated. I didn't get vaccinated.
And you never got it, right?
Huh?
And you never got it?
Never got it. So I would say, again, only the gullible people were the ones that. Again, I don't want to if you guys got it, that's I don't want to nothing personal.
All right, yeah,
but
that's fine.
But I would say ballers believers all got it.
No, the thing is that I would think that in order to come here and attend, you have to submit your proof of vaccine, right?
Yeah.
So then how were you able to bypass that?
Came in after.
Okay. Well, that's fine. The only reason I got it is because I needed to. Come here.
I would say that was kind of against the law because they did force a lot of people at their jobs, especially to get it. Like, oh, you get it or you're getting fired. But a lot of people, I don't know if you knew, they actually sued their companies.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of people did that, and some of them won. Because anything that has to do with medical decisions, it's personal. I don't know if you guys knew that. Anything that has to do with your body is personal. Nobody can force you to do anything, especially with medicine.
I have to go pretty soon.
Oh, yeah, no worries, man. I mean, any question before you go?
Yeah, I just want to get back to the thing is because I do agree. I don't actually trust the government at all.
That's good.
I have zero trust in them. However, as far as this thing that NASA's lying about the planet being round or flat or whatever, I don't know. To me, the speculation that this is in order to control us, I think it's a little far-fetched.
Okay. At the end of the day,
there are other ways to control us. I mean, they do this through taxes, through.
I would say the globe Earth lie is like a cheap shot, so that all the other things, like you're saying, taxes, vaccines, become easier for them to achieve.
But then, if you were to go into space,
so it has to do with all that, like you're saying.
If you were to go into space,
because it leads to that. Again, if you could get you to believe in the globe, you already took a cheap shot on your common sense. Therefore, you're not going to think straight for what else is coming. And what else is coming? Higher taxes. You get mandatory vaccines. Curfews at night. Like, what the fuck is that?
It's like a primer to get you to believe things.
Yeah, it's like a structure to just get you to believe things. It's like your foundation.
Do you think teaching kids that 1 + 1 = 2 is also a structure to get them to believe things?
No. I would say math is a language. You have to teach your kids that math is a language. And not only that, it has to do with arithmetic. It's a language like English, but it has to do with arithmetic. Yeah. That's it. That's all math is.
Also, if you were to
practically used, obviously, to construct, to build, engineering.
Yeah. I mean,
traveling.
So is this too, because physics is,
Physics is what it is.
It's math, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we could measure physics.
You can measure it.
Exactly. That's why this is the #1 proof of physical measurement.
I mean, first you would have to prove that the structure is level.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I mean, because it's engineering, it's level, but relative
to the Earth. Now you're changing it up, level relative to the center of the Earth.
I mean, I'm not changing it. That's just what it is.
That's what it is on paper. In reality, you could go to any construction worker, any engineer, any company, construction, and ask them if level means curve or if level means straight. Ask them. They're going to tell you level means straight as in horizontal.
Okay, but if you were to ask them that specific question, right, what would they tell you? Do you know?
If level means curve or horizontal?
If level, according to engineering, does it mean level like as it completely straight without any lines?
I would assume they're going to say...
Or curving along the Earth, like level within the sea level.
Most engineers believe in the ball Earth, so they'll say long distances it does curve, but they'll say locally it's flat. But again, that's because they believe what they were told as well.
Do you think why do you think they would tell you that?
Because that's what they believe. They have a bias to defend. That's why.
What would they have to gain from?
It's not really gaining anything. That? It's just defending their own ego.
Because
that's what they're doing.
Because if the Earth was truly flat, you would think as an engineer that you
would realize
you would only benefit from using that fact.
No. What I'm saying is that their ego will be hurt because they've been tricked their whole lives and they graduate and they don't want to admit that. So that's why they won't never look into it like that.
I don't think it's got anything to do with ego. I think it's got to do with mathematics. If you can physically prove that the Earth is flat, you could be like fucking 10 million
that's the thing.
times better than regular engineers because you could just throw out like all these things.
All engineers know that the Earth is level because that's how they construct everything, even in their blueprints. But they believe that it's a globe at longer distances. So they never worked at these distances. And if they did, it was just too big for me to tell. But in my blueprints, obviously, it's level, and I just couldn't tell. But it's there. That's just the way they think. If you ask me, because they can't. If they could prove the curvature of the Earth, because they're engineers. If anybody could prove this, should be engineers, right? Why don't they get the best engineer that NASA has to prove this then?
Because they don't want you to?
I think it's a waste of time.
You think it's a waste of time? You don't think $1 million? They get $70 million a day. That's not even it's
not the money. It's the labor.
All right. Well, I would say that if you think
time.
Okay, so you're okay with just believing, because you know the difference between a knowing and a belief.
I just don't.
No.
To me, it doesn't make a difference.
Okay. I understand it doesn't care, but do you know the difference between a knowing and a belief?
Yeah.
Okay, what's the difference?
Believing is
Something you don't know, for sure.
not always.
Okay.
No.
No. Okay.
Because if someone lied to you, but you don't have like proof.
Okay. Let me change the question. You know the difference between believing and knowing something in reality, like not a story. Because I know stories could be what I'm talking about. Like if somebody tells you, like a square is always going to be a square, a circle is always going to be a circle. You know what I'm saying? If it gets you to believe that a square could turn into a circle just by changing the scale, would that be true just because you believe that?
No.
No, but you believe that a straight line can change into a circle by changing the scale.
Well, a straight line can a circle. If you zoom in into a point in a circle far enough, it looks like a straight line.
But if we scale that straight line up, will it turn into a circle? If we just scale that piece, scale it up, keep scaling.
Well, assuming the straight line belongs to a circle, yeah.
So it's always a square. I was gonna tell you, when you zoom into a circle, do this again. If you zoom into pixels, the first pixel is always gonna be higher than the next pixel. So what you're saying about a straight line, maybe the pixel you're saying is straight, you know, but that's because we can't get to lower resolution than that. But the pixel next to the first pixel is always gonna be lower. Zoom into that, trust me, because I know you're saying that when you zoom into a circle, you're gonna see a straight line. You might be seeing the top of the pixel, but that's the only thing that's straight is the pixel, the top of the pixel, because the next one's gonna be right below it.
Yeah.
And then the next one's gonna be right below that one, and the next one's gonna be, and that's why it makes a curve.
Okay, so
there's no straight lines in a circle. Look it up. There's no straight lines in a circle.
No, they're called tangent lines.
You could call them tangent lines, but they're not straight lines. That's my point. They're curved lines.
Yeah,
tangent lines.
I'm not calling them a straight line. What I'm saying is, if you zoom in close enough, listen to me. If you zoom in close enough to, the surface of a circle, it appears like a.
Appears, but if we actually measured it, it's not.
Just like how the water level appears to be straight.
And if we measure it, it is. That's the difference.
But have you measured it? But have you measured it?
Huh?
But have you measured it?
I mean, I measured it in short distances. I actually have. In miles, I haven't. I don't have the money to build a mile-long ruler.
So how are you so sure?
Because the physics of water shows me that. If I go to a lake, I can observe that the water's perfectly level.
Oh, yeah, because some lakes are miles long.
Yeah, 20 miles even. Yeah, there's hundreds of lakes on Earth that are miles across.
That does make sense.
Every lake on Earth should be displaying this 8 inches per mile square if we truly live on this cartoon they're telling. Every lake here should be curving. Every lake.
Is why when you go into space would you observe a globe? Though?
Because it's all cartoons.
All
cartoons. Everything about outer space is made up.
So then let's say that you and I went into space.
Well, this picture isn't real, obviously, because
this is from NASA's website, but yeah.
Because I forget the name, but basically they take a compilation of images of the Earth, put them together.
Yeah,
so I mean, we know. Yeah, so we know. Yeah, so this is actual like common knowledge, but that doesn't just because they make composites to make the depiction of Earth easier to understand. That doesn't debunk.
No, my point is what you just said, that they make them in a computer. They're not real. That's it. And I would say these defy physics.
Well, just like you said, this picture of the paintings of Morgan Freeman and that other actor, right? Obviously, they're not real. They're paintings.
Yeah, they're paintings.
But they still depict what you can look at Morgan Freeman.
Oh, I could draw Superman, and that depicts Superman. Does that mean Superman's real? I could depict Superman. I could depict Spider-Man.
Well,
does that mean they're real?
Well, that seems like a red herring too, because.
Well, I would say this is a red herring.
Because do you believe Superman is real?
No.
Okay, so we're not talking about the same thing.
I would say Superman is as real as this globe Earth.
But we're not talking about the same thing here. You're talking about.
It's the same line of reasoning that you're using. I'm using.
You're talking about comic book characters. I'm talking about like the physical.
I would say
Earth
this is kind of a comic book picture because it only exists in books.
So you don't believe the Earth is real?
No, the Earth is real. It's just not a ball.
Now what I'm wondering is if you believe
like
the whole universe itself is flat.
That's the thing. We've been lied to about the whole universe. So what's outside of the Earth? I don't know what's outside of the Earth. If there's even an outside.
So hold on, just to make sure I understand your reasoning here.
Yeah.
So you're saying just because this is real, that means
No.
This isn't accurate?
No. If this is real, because this is what they're depicting the Earth is, right?
Sure.
A certain dimension.
It's a depiction.
It's a depiction of the dimensions they're telling us.
Yeah, we agree on that. Yeah.
24,901 miles is what they're telling us.
Okay.
Right. These are the curvature rate based on that circumference.
Okay.
Every mile. So my thing is that if this is true, then we should be able to measure every lake on Earth displaying this curvature. That's just that. It's that simple, literally. If you ask me, every lake on Earth is level though. Everything horizontal. You know, that's why if you take the water out of a lake, it's gonna be like a crater. You know, because the water has to fill in the crater, and the surface always levels out.
Because if you had like a lake and it was like this, don't you think that would like defy physics?
No. If you had a lake, okay, let's say you have a lake, right? And you dig it 20 feet on this side and only 10 feet on this side.
Oh no, that's not what I mean.
Okay, what do you
I'm
mean?
saying like this. You see how it curves, right?
No,
It just wouldn't make sense for a lake to be curved like that.
it wouldn't make sense, right?
Yeah, it only makes sense for it to
Yeah,
be straight.
exactly. There we go.
Because like if it's curved, then the water would have to like fill in somehow.
It
or
would have to be like Jello. Holding
Yeah,
itself,
exactly.
Holding
exactly.
itself.
That's actually funny.
Yeah, it is. It is, man. I'm telling you, man. This is. You're a good thinker, man. You know how to use your brain, man. I think it's because you don't have a bias. You don't care. You truly don't care. You know, he says you don't care. But he actually does care. You truly don't care. You're just looking at the facts. You know.
I'm just listening to what you have to say, and it just doesn't really make it.
I mean, it makes sense to him, though. That's what I'm saying. Like.
Well, I can actually explain that too. Because,
Okay, explain it.
Because
It's gravity.
When we're hold on. When we're looking at the planet, right? From our point of view, back to the tangent line things, we are zoomed. Like, look at how big the Earth is compared to us. Like,
Lakes are bigger, though. We're not looking at a cup. Lakes are miles across.
The lake is on the surface of the Earth, though.
But it's miles across, though.
But the lake is on the surface. Hold on. Let me make my point.
Go for it.
Okay. So the lakes are on the top of the surface of the Earth, and we, compared to the Earth, are really, really small. Right? Have you ever seen a tangent line on a circle?
Yeah, but before you said that the tangent line is on if you zoom in, it's on one point.
Yeah, it is.
And
We are all like where we're standing is all on one point of the Earth. However, we are zoomed in so deep into the fucking surface of the Earth that to us everything looks flat. Like we're not standing on like say a fucking soccer ball, because then clearly you could see the curvature of the soccer ball. Does that make sense?
It does.
The bigger the sphere gets, the harder it is to see the curvature.
But we should still be able to measure it, though, right?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
According to this right here, granted, like he said, don't trust anything. But granted, this is how it would work. I'm sure you've done the measurements and whatnot, or the calculations.
I gotta go, but what's your name?
William.
William. Nice
Appreciate
to
it,
meet you, man.
Alright.
Take it.
You can explain to me what you were going to
Yeah,
say?
so like, I don't think I can see what he's trying to say, but I don't agree with it.
No, yeah,
Because,
obviously. No,
like he said, yes, we are on a point, but if you can't say that the lake is one point,
Exactly.
because you'd have to say that the lake is many points.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because the lake is like this,
Yeah,
and
in all directions, too, not just left, right, front, and back.
Yeah,
as
and
well.
we're like this.
Yeah.
So if it'd have to go like that.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah, man.
That's so weird, though.
Oh, yeah,
it's
man.
funny.
You give me chills, man, because you're actually, not a lot of people are like you, where they actually, take a thought further. They automatically just try to defend it. And you're taking it further, and it's making you think, and I'm seeing that, and it's making sense. I could see that it's making sense because you understand. Again, you don't have a bias. I could see that, so that's pretty cool, man. No, but I mean, just real quick, I guess before you go, because the stars, if you ask me, they tell us that the planets, are like Earth, but this is what the planets actually look like. And if you ask me, these are the stars and these are the planets. They were both brought back into zoom with a P900 camera. I don't know if you know that camera. It's 83 times optical zoom, so it's real zoom. So we were able to bring both of them into focus, telling us that they're literally in our visible space. They're literally, I would say the stars are no more than like a few hundred, maybe 1,000 miles in the sky. And they're literally just lights, like how they look. Like, they look like Christmas lights, if you ask me. And they look like they're rippling in water. They're like rippling in water. So another thing about the stars, I don't know if you knew this, but there's no parallax with the stars. The stars always, that's why we have the constellations, right? Because they're always constant every year. If we were on a globe shooting through space at 500,000 miles an hour and spinning around the sun, there should be parallax of the stars every night. In other words, parallax? So parallax is, for example, if you have an object here and I have an object here, and you're standing on this side, this object's gonna be on your right field of view, and this one's gonna be on your left field of view. Now, if you switch to this side, this one's gonna switch to your left field of view, and this one's gonna be on your right field of view. So it all depends on where the observer position changes. Then you should have parallax about these apparent objects. If we're truly shooting through space, there should be parallax because we're spinning supposedly, and we're also spinning around the sun. And the sun is shooting around the Milky Way as well, and the Milky Way is shooting through space. So it's like 4 different directions that we're supposedly going through space, but the sky stays exactly the same every year. You know what I'm saying? Oh my God.
Yeah, hopefully they're okay.
Oh my God. Well, yeah. So the fact that there's no parallax in the sky kind of debunks this whole idea that we're shooting through space. You know what I'm saying? So, and again, the planets, they used to just be called wandering stars. So the word wander means planet. So that's where the word planet comes from. Because these have their unique paths. Like these are constant. These all have their own unique paths. So they all have their own trajectory in the sky.
Stars stay constant?
The stars, all the stars stay constant.
Isn't the Milky Way like a collection of stars and planets?
Yeah, but they all stay relative to each other. The distances between all the stars and everything stays fixed. That's why, yeah.
So
the position of the stars will never change.
So you could say that right here is a star. In 1 billion years, it'll always stay right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll always reset. So the sky, I would say, is kind of like a clock that just rotates above.
And then, if this star stays here, does a planet move, or does it stay in the same place as well?
So the planet moves independent from all the other stars, but ultimately they still have their own path. So they'll repeat that same pattern the next year. And then so it will say Mars has its own unique, pattern that it makes. Jupiter has its own separate pattern that it makes, and Mars has, and Venus has its own. So these all have unique paths. All these other stars are all fixed, kind of like all together. You know what I'm saying?
So let's say this is the sun, and you have a planet going on this path around the sun. Is that?
I don't even know.
The orbit?
Yeah. So I would say the sun. I would say the sun's closer than the stars, obviously.
Yeah.
So that happening, I don't even know how that could happen, because the stars, I would say they're behind the sun. So I would say that again, I don't know the distances to these places, but to these things, but I would say the sun's a few hundred miles in the sky, right? And then the stars are maybe a few hundred more on top of that. So a star can never go around the sun. You know what I'm saying? They're in a different,
It would almost be as if the sun is, for this to, what you're saying from my understanding is, for it to be possible for everything to go, the sun itself would have to be the center of the universe so that everything could revolve around it.
So the sun, let me just real quick, the sun is not, I know we were told the sun is 93 million miles away and it's 400 times bigger than the earth, right? So the sun, I don't know if you've ever heard of crepuscular rays. So these are rays that come in through the clouds, that come in at an angle like that. So if we trace these rays back, it'll kind of show the position of the sun. And then also here, you could see a hot spot underneath the sun, showing that the sun is very small and local. This is the clouds, and you can see a hot spot on it. So the sun is very small and tiny, and it can only illuminate so much of the Earth. So, and it's independent from the stars. It's not part of the stars. The sun is completely independent. So, yeah, that's why, the stars with the sun, doing things together doesn't make sense to me, because they're completely separate. You know what I'm saying?
That one, honestly, it's hard for me to understand.
Right. No, yeah, it is. But just like I said, the sun, it's in our environment. If the Earth is contained, the sun is within the containment. Yeah, so it's very close and small, very tiny. And again, people might ask, well, what's powering it? What's making it go around? Well, what's powering your body right now? What's powering you to talk? Like, I don't know. It's part of the creation. You know what I'm saying?
But what would your opinion be on what created everything?
I don't know. I would say all religions are there to control, because nobody actually knows.
And also,
and the heliocentric model is a religion, by the way.
What'd you say?
The heliocentric model, the ball Earth, is a religion too.
The ball?
The ball Earth belief.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like a religion. It's all based on faith.
So then you would define a religion as how much people believe in something?
I would define a religion as in having faith about your existence and what this place actually is. I would say that's religion.
Okay, so then you could say that. Okay. What would you consider yourself, like atheist, agnostic?
I actually used to be kind of atheist, more agnostic. But I was kind of atheist, but now I'm more, I don't even know if there's a word for it. I just know, I acknowledge that this place was created or intelligently designed. Physics shows me that, because physics, the laws of physics they didn't create themselves. If you ask me, again, just like matter cannot create itself, So I acknowledge the fact that this was a creation of some sort, whether it's a good, good creation for us to be here, or a prison. Some people might think this is like a prison for us, like hell. I don't know what it is, but I do know it was created. That's where I'm at.
What would you consider like yourself to be, or anybody that is intelligent?
Okay, I would. Like, what do you mean intelligent?
Or actually, I don't know. Animals and people, all of us have a life force of some
Right.
sort.
Oh, yeah,
That's
I
why
agree
we're
with that.
alive. What would you consider us?
Okay, I would say, okay. I would say we're kind of spiritual in a way. So I would say yes. I would say there is an energy or an essence that's powering, our bodies. And I would say, if I'm being honest, I don't know what that is ultimately, but I know that's the closest thing to who I am. It's whatever's powering this body. So I would call it energy. Some people might call it a ghost or a spirit, right? Or I would just say energy. Energy. I think consciousness is energy in a way.
So if you would call us energy, I mean everything around us, like the earth itself would be energy too, right?
Yeah. You could say it's a form of energy. So that's where the consciousness part comes in. So that's where I say we're kind of like energy, because there is something more to us, because we're different from a tree. We have this subjective experience, to feel emotions, to communicate, all this, and a lot of things that have energy in life don't, like plants, So what is that? That's the question we're all trying to figure out, right? What is this consciousness or spirit or energy that's powering it, right? So I don't know, but I acknowledge that there is something. There is. So are you religious or?
I would just say that I would feel like all religions point to a same end point.
Okay, yeah, which is kind of like creation, if you ask me. I mean, that's one of the main things, religions point to, which is creation.
Yeah.
The heliocentric model does the opposite. They point to everything came from nothing, and we evolved from monkeys. So,
but we didn't evolve from monkeys. Science knows that, though.
I know, but they still push their theory of Darwinism, all that shit. They still push it in school, their theory of evolution. I mean, they could call it a theory, but they still push it in school.
So then what do you think of evolution?
Yeah, evolution is just like any other religion that made up a story, like, like Jesus doing all these incredible things, Yeah, just that's their version of their religion. Like, everything just evolved by itself, opposed to saying Jesus or whatever other prophet you want to name created it.
Because so then in that way you could say like you could have a religion such as Catholicism or Christianity and whatnot, but you could then in that way say that science itself is a religion too.
Scientism, yeah, I would say
scientism. Okay, so believing in that science, everything it says is what it's the truth.
Yeah, so I would say scientism will be science that cannot be proven. So people that claim science or scientific theories, for example, claiming they're true. You know what I'm saying?
And also, isn't a theory actually something that's been tested and observed many times, so it's accepted?
It's accepted,
but it's not necessarily true.
Yeah, exactly. So it's accepted because that's like the closest thing we have, right?
Yeah, because you could have like a hypothesis and nobody's ever done it before. It's up to you to test it. Once you have your results, people will also reproduce it, and then from there it could become a theory.
Right.
But you don't know that it's actually true.
Right, because it's still a theory. In other words, once it no longer becomes a theory and it becomes fact, it won't be called a theory anymore. It will become a law. You know what I'm saying?
So that's why you have like the law of thermodynamics.
Exactly. There's different. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
The second law of thermodynamics is that one. It actually debunks outer space. The second law of thermodynamics because the second law of thermodynamics has to do with entropy. When high pressure always moves to the lower pressure, unless you have a solid container. So that's always going to happen. So they're trying to tell us that outer space is a negative pressure compared to Earth's 14.7 psi.
So it all flow in.
So the air should be rushed out into space because of the second law of thermodynamics, but that doesn't happen. Why? Because of a theory of gravity. So you just have to believe in gravity to explain away what a law, should be preventing the air. So we're taking a theory opposed to a law, basically, to explain why air doesn't rush out of the Earth.
But I don't feel like you can use gravity as a reason.
No, some people do though.
Because let's just say you have a particle of oxygen.
Right.
It has a weight.
Right.
So the gravity itself would have to push it down if that's what it does to everything else, right?
Right.
But the thing is that gases flow around freely.
Exactly.
So it doesn't really make sense.
So some people say, the atmosphere is the container, but I'm not like, but the atmosphere needs
Itself.
a container.
Yeah.
Itself needs a container, so the atmosphere itself cannot be the container.
Isn't the atmosphere like O3 or something?
That's what they say. Yeah. So they're trying to. A lot of people would say that the atmosphere is a container, but as we know, the atmosphere needs a container because it's just going to expand in all directions. And that's the second law of thermodynamics. Air just expands in all directions if it's not contained. But again, gravity, they teach us gravity since we're so little. It's in cartoons, everywhere, just because it's like the glue for this heliocentric model. Because it explains away, again, how water bends. It explains how the air doesn't leave the earth. It explains orbits, you know. It explains all these questions that people might have that are logical with just saying gravity. How do people stand upside down in Australia? Gravity. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do airplanes fly level over the earth? Gravity. You know, they say that the gravity, because airplanes fly straight, you know, when they're level, when they reach their cruising altitude, they level out and they fly level. And I ask people, well, how do they fly level when going down the curve?
Yeah, because they go really fast, so naturally they'd be going something
Here's
like
another
that.
thing about people that don't know. Airplanes actually fly with their nose tipped like 1 to 2 degrees up in the air to maintain level flight.
So you mean like it's not like this, it's more like
It's
that?
slightly up, and it's only to maintain their straight path. So in other words, if their nose is pointed slightly up, how is it that they're curving down? If there's, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people will say, oh, the pilots compensate for the curvature of the earth when they fly, but it's like, how can they point down and up at the same time? You know,
Wait,
to
that
fly-
one is a little bit weird, because if it needs to be like this in
it
order
needs
to
be
stay
like that too.
plane,
Exactly.
but if it's like this, it's automatically going to go like that?
No. So what they're saying is, so we have an airplane like this flying level, right?
Okay.
The airplane, in order to fly level, it has to be slightly tilted up like that in order to fly straight. Because if it flies straight like this, it's gonna start to go down. So the airplane has to fly with the nose slightly up. Or who knows what will happen? Maybe, you know, who knows? But they fly slightly. In other words, people claim that they fly over a curve, but they eventually, you know, compensate with the nose tipping it. My question is, or my point is that how can that happen? You know, going around a curve like this when the airplane's always with the nose up. That means and this is where they claim gravity magically does it. So they're flying like this, and gravity just automatically just bends it and keeps it straight up. So it keeps it like this, but gravity just bends the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? So the pilot doesn't do anything. They just say gravity compensates for the curvature, basically. So, but that's, again, gravity is just a word to explain away these things.
Okay, I see that.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that a plane, so this is going to be the forward direction.
Yeah, the forward direction.
Now it has to fly at a curve like this.
1 degree up. It's almost maybe not even noticeable,
yeah.
but it's noticeable in the artificial horizon that they use.
Okay.
You know, because they use an artificial horizon, and I'm assuming they just go 1 degree above that. And you know, in the calculations in their thing measures it, right? But it might not be noticeable. You know?
So they are doing it themselves.
They do that to fly level. Yeah, they point up.
So if they're flying straight like this, you said they're naturally going to go down.
If the nose is not pointing up, I'm assuming that's what will happen. That's why they do that, you know, to fly level.
So would this, let's just say that you're going down like this. Is this considered flying level?
No, because you're changing elevation.
Okay. And then, because the way that I'm understanding it is if they were to fly like this without a tilt, then they'd go like this.
Okay. Oh, okay, you're thinking of a curve like that.
Yeah,
Oh.
because then it would be similar to this. If they're just flying straight, but they're going to go down, then they're going to go like this.
But then my question would be, you think that will happen because of gravity, right?
I just,
Force of gravity keeps it at that elevation.
I would just think that it would happen because if the Earth was a globe, then in order to get someplace, you'd automatically have to turn.
Right. I understand what you're saying now. You're saying that that's the only logical way to fly around a globe, right? Will be to fly like that, right?
Yeah, because if they're going so fast, and it only takes three miles to have this much of a change.
Yeah.
Then naturally they have to go like
yes,
that.
you'll feel like you're on a carnival ride almost, always going down, right? Kind of like that. Yeah. No, I thought about that before, but that is true. That's what should happen, but airplanes don't fly like that.
Okay, so basically, in order to stay level, they'd be like this.
Kind of, yeah. With their nose slightly tilted up. So yeah, plane navigation, you know. Airplanes fly over a plane, you know, if you ask me. That's why they're not called air globes.
Oh, that's funny.
Right?
What other stuff have you thought about?
I mean, to be honest, this is like the biggest thing that I came across. I came across this in 2016. And I just believed everything the government told me, you know. So when I came across this was like the first conspiracy I came across, right? this just opened a can of worms for me, you know. After this, I have zero trust for the government now. Now I see where all these scams, you know, again with the vaccine scam, they took billions of dollars, by the way, from the vaccine scam, you know, forcing people to take them. Obviously, the NASA's budget, you know, high taxes, you know, the political left wing versus right, you know, right. All of that's just a distraction to keep us from the reality of this place.
Yeah, because like left and right, no, there's not necessarily right.
Yeah.
Because like the way that I see it is that everyone would ideally want to live the way that makes them feel best.
Exactly.
But there's not left or right that works for everybody.
It's all part of the same bird. You could say both wings are part of the same bird. So, oh yeah, it's just the way to control an outcome is to control both sides of the argument. So that's what they do basically. You know, they want to control the outcome, so you have to control both sides. So, I don't know if you knew, but presidents are not selected; they're elected. You know, I don't know if you ever heard of that.
By the people?
No, they're not selected; they're elected. In other words, they're already picked who's going to be the next president. So all this voting is just like a facade for people to think that their vote actually matters. So yeah, like I said, they're already selected.
Isn't that technically why the popular vote... Wait, did the popular vote go against Trump? Or did it go for him?
To be honest, like I said, it's all like a fucking show. They already decided who's going to win, and what they show us is just what they want to show us. So,
no, because I remember that during one of those presidencies,
there's a
popular vote went towards someone, but then like the government itself has their votes too, and that's what overruled it.
Right.
So then, in that way, you could say that.
You're talking about the yeah, it did. It didn't go for Trump.
It didn't?
No.
Yeah. So that kind of like makes what you're trying to say seem more believable. Because if the people truly elect or select or whatever the president, then the popular vote would have put the other person in office.
Right.
But if he was already selected, then they would have had to do something, some way to have an excuse.
There we go. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. There we go. No, yeah. No, that's what they do in all fields. They always need an excuse. So the excuse for not allowing people to explore Antarctica to find out what's at the extremities of the Earth, the excuse is protecting wildlife, protecting the penguins. So that's why it's illegal for anybody to explore south. So that's the excuse.
Didn't Hitler go over it up there?
No, it was. I think Hitler did too. Yeah, supposedly. But I don't know if you heard of the Admiral Byrd. So he did. He was an admiral, the United States Army, and he did a couple of expeditions in Antarctica back in the 40s, I think. And he went back on live TV and claimed that he's seen land as big as America, continents full of resources, past Antarctica. So he claimed that he's seen land past Antarctica. So, and then, after that, I think he died mysteriously.
Wait.
I think after like 60 days or something, a few months later.
So it's almost as if we don't even know if the actual size of the Earth that we're being told is the actual size.
We don't know the dimensions of the Earth.
Is that why there's like theories that like there's a center of the Earth with a bunch of land and shit?
So I'm gonna show you this map because this is what everybody shows online, right?
Yeah.
Nobody knows what the Earth actually looks like. But
wait, this is the pole?
This will be the South Pole, yeah. So the North Pole would just be the center point. And basically this will be like the globe kind of flattened out, you know, in a way. But if you ask me, this is not what the Earth actually looks like. You know, this is just another cartoon. But this is what it would look like if all the continents are telling us, you know, what size they're telling us and where they're at. And if that's all there is, then this is what it would look like. But if you ask me, there could be another continent right here for all we know, you know. There could be another one here. And another thing is, what happens if we go over this ice? That's where the Admiral said that he's seen other continents over the ice, over Antarctica. You know, and nobody ever heard from him again after. This is I would say this is a red herring as well. Trying to use this map to prove flat Earth. No, this is just another cartoon. You know, water in specifics is what proves, you know, the levelness of the Earth. You know, so you heard of the term sea level, right? Yeah. You know, that's how we measure height and depth to all be congruent on the same level, you know, to be on the same line, basically. So yeah, man, I mean, it's a pretty crazy topic, man. How long ago did you hear about this?
I've never really thought about it, or...
You heard about this though, right?
I've heard flat Earth before,
right.
But I just never understood, like, what
where they were
makes them
coming
think
from.
that.
Yeah, where they were coming from. Yeah.
But I have no like you said, I don't really care. You know?
That's true. I can actually see it.
Because, you know, if I did, then, you know, obviously, like, that guy, he was trying to defend it so hard, like, and I think like when he left, I told you why what he was saying wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, because of the point.
But he acted as if it did make sense.
Yeah.
You know? And you were right about the ego part, actually. I was like, because he was like, I don't think it has anything to do with ego, but it does, because that's your belief, and you're trying to hold it so far because that's part of who you think
you went to school
are,
with that.
You know?
You don't want to admit that you were fooled. You know, you're 30 now, you know, and you don't want to admit, you know, I'm 30, I'm going on 32 now, so I mean, I came across this when I was 26, 7 years ago almost.
Yeah.
When I was like 24, 25. So,
but
yeah. How old are you now, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm almost 20. I'm 19 right now.
Oh, you're 19?
In June, I'll turn 20.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's way sooner than I came across this. And I was 24 when I came across this. And yeah, completely changed my life.
Because the thing for me is I practice meditation every day.
Oh, that's actually cool. Yeah, I like that.
So I just try to be as present as possible.
Right.
I try not to think about unnecessary past or future. If it's necessary, okay, that's fine. But if it's not, I don't need to think about it.
Yeah, I like that.
It's
Yeah,
pointless.
Yeah.
Because everything you do is right now, right in front of you.
Exactly.
The only thing you can do to get to the future you'd want
Right
is
now.
to do something right now. And the future you want is going to be experienced as the right now.
Yeah. It's just an idea, the future, basically. It's always the present.
So
But
I
yeah.
just like, I feel like if something makes more sense or could make moving forward easier or whatever, or if it's unconventional, I mean, it's fine. Because everyone's just doing what makes them feel best, what comforts them the most.
Exactly. So one of my ultimate goals, that I see this moving forward, or you know, one of the reasons why I do this is because the economy is built against us. I don't know if you know that. You know, the way property, you know, owning property is right now. You know, high rent, you know, taxes here and there. So the economy is built against us, and the way I see it, an economy should be there to simplify our lives, if you ask me. So in other words, an economy should be there as an option. So we should all have the right to land, which we do. I don't know if you knew that. It's in the Constitution. They acknowledge that we all have the right to land. The only reason why we don't have that right here is because I would say we're in a cult. People will call it society or culture, right? We live in a culture society, right?
Which way though? Like the fact that we live in communities, or that I'm at this school right now?
I would say the whole city living and the fact that the whole society, how we function right now. The fact that we all need to pay rent. If you pay rent or use money, I would say you're part of the cult.
Okay, and also, because in essence, all of the land in the U.S. is owned by the government, right?
I mean, by the federal,
or for the most part.
For the most part, yeah, you could say that they claimed it all. I guess
So
we're allowing them to claim it, but yeah, they're claiming it.
So like, if we all have the right to land, and you just went out into an unoccupied place and you said, okay, this is my land now.
You start building a shelter.
Yeah, but then the government somehow finds out and says you can't have this land. This is our land. So then, would that deny your right to land?
Yes, so that's where I would say we live in a cult, because it actually does state as well that you have the right to land as long as it's at the out extremities of the city. So you can't even be close to any roads, basically. So if you want to build your shelter, that's why people could go to the woods and build their own shelter there, and it's not legal. It's legal.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
As long as you're not in a national park, right? Or again, you can't be really close to any public roads, or you can't be in the way of any government operations. That's the key.
Okay.
So that tells me that we live in a cult. In other words, in this city or this cult, we have our own rules. Like, yeah, you have your right to land, but just not here, because all the people that are here are agreeing that we have to pay. You know what I'm saying? So that's how we're all living in a cult. So the way I see it, the economy should be there. Everybody should be able to do what I just said. Go to an empty piece of land, build your shelter, and grow your own food. You know, and self-sustainability, right? You should have the right to do that. Now, let's say you want some electronics, or you want some other things that you can't build yourself. That's where an economy comes in. Like, oh, I'm gonna go work so I can buy, you know, something to have fun with, you know, that I can't build myself. So that's where I think an economy will come in, to simplify or to basically make it so that we experience things that we naturally wouldn't experience, not for necessities. If we use an economy for necessities, which we are now, that's gonna just lead to enslavement.
So necessities as in like food, water,
and shelter, those should be free for everybody. Like as in like by your own means. You should have the right to land, build your shelter, and self-sustain yourself. Now, if you want to participate in an economy and make money to maybe pay someone to clean your house or because you're lazy, right? That should be optional.
Okay. Because like you said, water isn't free technically. Because you have to go to the store and you have to buy it. Or if you have it at your house, you have to pay the water bill.
Exactly. So I don't know if you knew this, but drilling into the earth, you could reach water. Groundwater, like fresh water.
Yeah.
If you dig deep enough. So, and then I mean, there's different ways to get water. Just right now we're so disconnected from self-sustainability that it just seems so far-fetched to get out of this system. It's like, oh, what are we gonna do for food, and what are we gonna? Well, yeah, we're in a hole right now. I admit it. It's gonna be hard to get out of this shithole we're in, but it's never too late. You know what I'm saying? I feel like a strong enough community, like of 100 to 1,000 people, if they actually focused on self-sustainability, they can make it happen easily. Even 100 people could do it. Even less, if you think about it. You know what I'm saying? A small community. For all we know, there's communities out there that exist already doing it. They're not recording it or putting it online. So I mean, we don't know. But I think that's one way that they're fucking us, is making us ignorant to how money actually works and forcing everybody to use it. Because I don't know if you knew, but our economy is not even backed by gold anymore. It hasn't been since like the 70s.
Didn't they make some type of thing where they changed that?
Yeah, I think they changed the laws on that or something. But yeah, it's not even backed by. In other words, it's not being regulated. The way that the Federal Reserve prints money and lends it to the U.S. and lends it to all the other countries is not being regulated. So they could just print out however much money they want and just lend it out.
That's why
with high interest.
A lot of inflation right now.
Exactly.
Because then gold is like an actual thing.
It's
like
substance.
You
yes.
know,
that's
you
you
have
can
a
regulate.
value on it.
Yes.
And if you have this much, that's how much you have.
Exactly.
Right now,
you can't overprint because there's no more gold. But they took the gold standard off already, so that's why inflation's happening, and that's why everything's going to shit quick.
Yeah.
You know, if you think about it logically, the more you do something, like anything, like folding papers, stacking paper, whatever, the more you do it, the easier it gets, right? Anything, the more practice you get, the easier it gets. So the way I see it is, with these factories, when we're mass producing things, that's obviously even easier because you have a machine doing it now. That should bring the cost down of things. Why the hell is everything going up when we're mass producing and simplifying the production of things? Why is everything going up when it should be going down?
Like you could say consumerism?
You could say supply and demand, and I would say that the fact that we kind of need the government is the reason why they're able to raise it. For example, gas. Driving your car, they could raise the gas up. People are still going to buy it because they made it a necessity for us now. Even though it's not a necessity, the only reason why it's a necessity is because we need to get, everything transported. Everything's compartmentalized. I don't know if you notice, farmers, from the retailers, from, everything's compartmentalized, how everything's grown, the food, how it's transported. And it's also that we're disconnected from the process, so that we rely on the system. So again, just to keep us down, keep us just doing what we're told,
So, could you say, from what I'm understanding, is that technology advancing and making things easier disconnects us?
In a way. Especially if we rely on it for our necessities.
Okay.
Yeah. Especially if it's not even, and another point about that is that technology and making things easier should bring the cost of things down to the point. But everything, I don't know if you noticed, everything is going up. So how is that possible? You know what I'm saying? When the practicality should show that all the prices should go down. Because it's being easier produced, more mass produced. You know what I'm saying?
Have you heard of Nikola Tesla?
Oh, yeah.
What was he trying to do? I thought I heard he was trying to make electricity free for everybody.
Yeah. So supposedly he was trying to do something with like a Tesla coil that was able to basically harness energy from the ether, which is kind of like the electric magnetic field. So he was basically able to harvest energy from thin air, supposedly. Okay. And that technology was stolen by Edison, obviously, and he's the one that changed it and made it so that it's not free anymore.
Wait, so technically they're getting energy out of thin air and then charging it?
They could be, yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised either. Because think about it, I questioned this the other time, like, how is it that we're still using these ancient cables, right? Like that, like not right here, but
like the ones that you see
in the streets, like the ones that pass electricity to your house, right? And it's like, where's this energy coming from? And is it just being circulated? Like
it's like it's coming from a center point.
In a center point, and how is it being produced? You know, is it even like, you know? So I have a lot of questions about where our electricity comes from. You know, so it could be free energy already, and then and that's why they put meters in our house, because that's the only way they could charge us, through the meters. You know, because it's gonna be unlimited if you don't have a meter. You know what I'm saying? Sure. You just have unlimited energy. But yeah, I don't know exactly how that works, but for all we know, it could be free energy already, and then we're just being charged, you know, with the meters. Yeah. You know, but because I don't know if you've ever like driven around or ever see this like electric plants. Like, have you ever seen those? They have like a power plant. Like a power plant. They look trippy. It looks like it just circulates the energy. If you ask me, that's what they look like. You know, but I don't know. I don't know how that works.
What about like a nuclear power plant? Right.
Yeah. Pretty trippy.
So, what are you thinking? Let's just say that a lot of people do start thinking about this. Like, where do you think it'll end up?
To be honest, I don't know. But I am curious to see what will happen. So that's another reason why I do this. So yeah, I don't know what will happen when the majority do find out about this and are in the, are in the same level I'm at, you know, or even young. I don't know what will happen. I'm curious.
Do you ever meditate?
I'm gonna tell you what I do. Have you ever tried psychedelics?
I have tried mushrooms and DMT.
Oh, DMT. Oh, wow. I actually want to try DMT. So I've tried mushrooms. I microdose and I've taken higher doses.
Yes.
And I literally feel when I'm on those doses, like I'm meditating. Okay. Like I'm in a meditative without having to close my eyes and do all that. Just being, under the influence, I guess you could say. Or
so would you say that you almost feel connected to everything?
In a way, yeah.
And would you say that when you're in that state, you feel like anything's possible? Like you as a human being or just a living being can make anything happen for you?
I mean, anything that's physically possible, you could do it. Yeah, it like liberates your mind, yeah.
Because I've done it. Like I took sometimes it just feels good if I'm being honest.
No, yeah, that's one of the reasons why I do it too, just to relax and it's just like euphoria.
So one day I lemon teched 2.5 grams, and the next day I lemon teched 5 grams. I didn't get like a huge trip, probably because the 2.5 raised my tolerance so much. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. But the 5 grams, like both times, I felt just as if I could do anything.
Right, you feel like like a superhuman kind of type of thing.
But the thing about it was that I knew it's actually possible. Okay. Even in a sober state. Okay. It's just how your mind is working. Yeah. If your mind places limits on you, then you won't be able to think like that. You won't be able, because if you're like, oh, I'm not capable of that, then you don't no longer feel like a superhuman. But if you truly believe in yourself, or you take that feeling and you say that's just how it is, and you take it to your sober state, then you know, okay, yes, everything is possible because my mind is free from that limiting belief I had before. Yeah, you limit yourself basically, and this liberates yourself. Yes, your mind's your worst enemy, honestly. Yeah, you're your worst enemy. You're the ones that's holding yourself back. Yeah. At the end of the day. One thing that I noticed that kind of resonates with that is your creativity just shoots up. It's part of wanting to express yourself when you're in this, psychedelic state. I've noticed that you just start thinking obviously more, and your creativity just automatically, just goes up. Like you said, that you just want to do things. You want to, now is the time. Exactly.
Now, I thought about what would happen if like 10 to 20 people got on shrooms and were in that. I mean, we'll probably start building a community right now. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I've thought of before. Like, damn, imagine just like 10 to 20 people like on this. Like, what's the government gonna do? Put you in jail because you're trying to live your life? You're trying to build a house? You know what I'm saying? They're not gonna put you in jail for none of that, But you need a lot of people in this same state of mind, and things will happen. Change will happen.
Oh, yes. You need a lot of people, because one person can do so much.
No, one person would just be looked at crazy.
Yes, but then if you have a bunch of people, their combined intention will create something great.
It would resonate with others more too as well. And then it would just keep growing. This consciousness of feeling good and just wanting the best for everyone. It would just keep growing, and there's no stopping it at that point. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I would, believe it or not, this and psychedelics, in my opinion, hand in hand. Literally, like they are intertwined. Because I'm gonna tell you what, if it wasn't for the fact that I knew, like this, you know, about reality that we were lied to, when I took those psychedelic trips, I don't know what I would have been thinking about, to be honest.
If you didn't find
if I didn't know about this, the fact that nobody actually knows what this place is, and the fact that this place was created, I don't know what I would have thought about. I would probably be thinking about aliens, or I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. But I feel like knowing this, and then having my psychedelic trips, it kind of enhanced my psychedelic trips even more.
So you never had a psychedelic trip before you found this out?
No.
Okay, so then because you found this out, you're like, okay, maybe this
I was a little bit more open, yeah.
Okay.
I'm telling you, I stood away from weed, everything, you know. I was just, because I don't know, I just stood away from it all. And again, I was just a square. I believe everything the government said, you know what I'm saying? So the fact that I found this out, boom, you know, I just didn't trust the government, you know. I'm skeptical about everything that they say now, you know, so just the fact that I learned about nature, right, and about this reality, and that we're part of nature, you know, mushrooms, you know, are nature, you know what I'm saying? They literally just grow like that. So that's what kind of eased me into trying, you know, finding out, being more open to my reality, and more understanding of it, basically.
Another thing is they outlawed a lot of like psychedelics and stuff. Maybe it's because they don't want people to start thinking like that.
They don't want people to be their own. They don't want people to be independent, because that's what psychedelics give you, independence.
Yeah, that's why you feel like anything's possible.
Exactly.
It's just the way that the one thing that actually I thought about was, okay, I can do anything as long as I focus on it.
Yeah.
Because in essence, in the present moment, you're only ever doing one thing at a time. So if you can focus all your energy on one point at a time, you're eventually going to get to that place that you want it to be. But when you have like all kinds of thoughts about past and future, or you're, I don't know, limited by things, then you're not just doing one thing at a time. You're doing that, but you have all these other things in the background influencing you, which are not allowing you to get there fully.
I agree. That's true, man. Oh yeah, no wonder you're open-minded, man, because you tried psychedelics before. You know?
I took them after I started meditating, because I've read many meditation books and things about mindfulness and present moment. And then, you know, obviously the psychedelics help. Like my first ever trip, I just sat on my windowsill and I was like, love is the key to everything. Like love drives everything. But it's kind of hard to apply. But in the same way, now what I try to do is I just walk through life completely relaxed. Okay. Because I notice if I have like a thought, maybe it's not negative, maybe my shoulder will tense up a little bit and I just have to relax. Right. You know, because if you're calm, then you can make the best choice for yourself. Because if you're angry, you're gonna make a choice influenced by anger. Or sadness, same thing. But if you're calm and neutral, it comes from just that calm, neutral place, which those usually lead to the best things. Or if you're feeling inspired, then maybe that could lead to something good too. One thing I learned a lot, especially from taking psychedelics, was that a lot of people will put emotions first, like, oh, feelings matter, right? One thing I learned that, emotions are key, right, to being human, to understanding others, how to treat others. But if you put emotions first, again, that's when you start making decisions. You can start making bad decisions, you know. So you have to put logic and reason first. Yeah. That's where you have to be calm, you know, and all that. So that's come into play because, again, emotions should be secondary. Because if you put emotions first and base decisions off of that, you could even end up killed. You know, some people can't even control their emotions, and if you pick the buttons with the wrong person, you know, or irritate the wrong person, you know, if you operate on anger, in other words, you don't know what the other person's capable of. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, just to be calm, you know. And again, as long as nobody's inflicting any physical harm on you, I don't see an issue. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, no, that's pretty true, man. Staying calm is the best way, and also to show others how they're actually doing. Because if you match their energy, now they're not gonna see how they're doing. You know what I'm saying? Now they're gonna blame you. You know, but if you're calm the whole time, they're gonna eventually feel kind of dumb. But dang, I'm the one that's getting mad. Yeah. I'm the one that's exploding on you, and they're gonna have to check in with themselves. So it's a good way to like show people who they really are as well. That's so interesting that you say that. Because I've read that in books. Oh, okay. Like the way that I saw it was, this is the calm person and this is an angry person. Yeah. And eventually it's like, this gets tired. Yeah. And it has to become like this now.
Yeah, and then they have to realize that, okay, I was a little bit too forward or something. Yeah. And that's if they're being reasonable. Some people are just not reasonable. just walk away thinking they want an argument just because they're the ones that were the loudest or something. But yeah, I like to think that most people are reasonable. I mean, the fact that we're still alive, you know, right now, all of us, shows me that you do have some common sense and you do apply it, you know, to stay alive this long. It's where people start integrating beliefs in their being. I think another thing about psychedelics that taught me that not to have beliefs.
Oh, nothing matters, right?
Exactly. It's okay to not know something. Like the way I see it is, if either I know something or I don't. I'm okay with saying I don't know something. So having belief is you lying to yourself, because at the end of the day, belief is something that you don't know ultimately. So if you have belief, you have to be lying to yourself. You know? So I don't have beliefs usually. I try to stay away from that word. If anything, I have thoughts. So I have ideas. I think about things, but I don't have beliefs, because I think when you believe something, you're already committing as well. You're subliminally committing to something you actually don't know.
Yeah.
So I think believe is kind of an abstract word that shouldn't even exist. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, people like to believe. You know what I'm saying? It makes them feel good. And anything that questions that belief, they're gonna either defend it or run away. You know? One of the two.
One thing about that though, are you like, do you believe in this?
So that's the thing. It's not a belief. I know the physics of water and how it behaves. Okay. So anybody telling me that it's actually bending at a certain distance, then I'm open to you showing me the proof or the facts that that's the case. So as far as I know, the water is level, the surface of water, every lake, you know, even the oceans. But I am open to the idea that if you could practically show me this curvature or measure it even better using the scientific method, which is measurable, observable, testable, and repeatable, then I'm open to that. Because I'm an open-minded person. I'm not going to shut ideas down. But I am going to go based off physics. That's going to be my standing. You know, not beliefs.
So let's just say that you believed in this wholeheartedly.
Right.
And then someone comes and says you're wrong. The belief would trigger you to react a certain way.
I'm not gonna lie, it'll probably make me feel a little uncomfortable, because that already happened to me. I believed in this cold-heartedly. I believed in the ball of earth. Like, I was the biggest space junkie you could ever meet.
Yeah.
So the fact that this information was presented to me, you know, after I was wholeheartedly doing this, I kind of went through that already. You know what I'm saying? So it did take me like a few months, 2-3 months, to actually accept it, because of, you know, my hard belief, you know. But again, if I'm wrong again, it's gonna be even easier for me to accept, you know, because I already went through it. So I'm familiar with those emotions of of being wrong, you know. So I'm okay. I'm okay to admit that I'm wrong. Put it that way. I'm not scared to admit that I'm wrong.
Okay.
Especially if you could practically prove me wrong, then I just bettered my knowledge. Mm-hmm. Not only did you save me from my you know, misunderstanding, but now I understand. You know, so I'll thank you, if anything, you know, not get mad at you.
That's good, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But most people get triggered though, you know, obviously. You know, they're not in that state of mind, obviously. More combative than anything. You know? Because, again, the mainstream, they make it seem like it's a debate. Like ball earth versus flat earth, you know? And it's like, physics is not up for debate. Physics is up to experiment, test, and then see what we get. That's what physics is. It's not up for debate. We could debate ideas about how we should live. That's up for debate, you know, but not physics. Physics is not up for debate. But yeah, a lot of people are kind of confused. Again, misrepresenting. That's part of the misrepresenting online. It's a debate. And it's like, it's not a debate. I mean, I'll have a discussion with anyone, but you know, if you think it's gonna be a debate, fine. But I'm just gonna show you the facts. You know what I'm saying? You know, whether you deny the facts, that's up to you. You know.
Because the debate is to determine who's right.
The debate usually has to do with ideas. Yeah, like
of who's right or wrong, though.
Who has a better idea than the other. So like political debates, for example, what we should do with this money, you know, this budget. You know, have debates. Oh, we should do this with this money. No, we should do this. You know, that's a debate.
Yeah.
And I agree. You know, but physics is not up for debate. Water being level is not up for debate. I mean, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? 8 ounces of a cup of water is 8 ounces. You know, that's not up for debate. So that means half of that's going to be 4 ounces. It's not up for debate.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man. You have any other questions? I mean, before you go, I mean, here, let me give you my card because I don't really give them to everyone. I do have a YouTube channel.
Okay.
And I do live streams and stuff as well. And,
Yeah, I was wondering like how often do you come out here?
Yeah. So I come to this university. I try to come like once a week, but to be honest, I come like once every 2 weeks. I actually went to USC last 2 weeks ago, like almost 2 weeks ago, and yeah, I had a couple of good conversations there as well. It was my first time there at USC.
Do a lot of people just try to come up and like tell you you're wrong?
Believe it or not, because of the method that I use of this kind of like a Socratic method, getting people to agree with me first, what level means. Once I bring up the ball earth, I don't really get so much like ridicule or you know, what you would see online. It's more, people are more open actually to listening. You know, the worst I would get probably something like that guy.
Really?
That's like the worst.
I was literally gonna ask you about that.
That's probably like the worst. Maybe I've gotten like one or two that got a little more emotional, but to be honest, it doesn't go much further than that. And again, it's because I'm showing you practically what I'm talking about. I'm not just saying. And I got you to agree with it first before I brought in the subject. That's another thing. Because I think you missed the questions, huh?
Yeah, I did. I just came up because I was like,
yeah.
Do you trust your common sense? And I heard you talking about water, and I was like, all right, I want to hear what's.
No, yeah. So I start off with this one, just real quick. I mean, I'm not gonna do them to you, but so I start off with these two paintings, and I tell them that one of them is a photograph and one of them is a painting, but they're both paintings. The point of this is that everybody believes that one of them is a photograph. So my point is, when I ask this question, is that just believing someone opens the door to being deceived, because everybody believes me that one's a photograph. And then, so the second reason is, if you want to determine something is real, an image is not good enough. Because obviously I could show you paintings of anything that could be realistic and it's not real. So I like to, you know, do this question because a lot of people would say the proof of the globe is images from space. So that defies this logic, where if an image defies physics, we shouldn't trust that image. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, and then the second one has to do with, I don't know if you've seen this one, the direction of water. You know, water always goes to the bottom of the container, right? That's obvious. Always goes to the bottom. So I tell people which one is upside down. You got to pick which one's upside down based on where the water is. Which one of these is upside down? If water always goes to the bottom.
I mean, I would say that.
Yeah, that's the obvious one. Yeah, I took it like that.
Yeah.
So it was upside down. Yeah. So yeah, and then I get people thinking a bit, and then I bring in this one as the third one, and then they obviously agree this means level because obviously this is not. And then and that's where then you came in at that part. Yeah. So no, yeah. Believe it or not, I like to think because you know when you do psychedelics, you know, it stays in your system for a few days. You know, it doesn't completely go away.
I feel like it stays for like 2 weeks, doesn't it?
Something like that.
At least,
yeah.
Like the psilocybin.
Yeah, psilocybin. So I like to think around that time. I was doing a lot of pacing, you know, because that's the only thing I tend to do when I'm just thinking. I like to pace. And believe it or not, these questions kind of came to me just thinking about this, you know, trying to like simplify it to people, you know, just trying to like think of ways of getting people to see it very simple, getting people to think, you know. So I like to think that the shoot kind of helped me, you know, get, you know, these questions together and present it the way I do. And yeah, it seems to work pretty good. So, you know, I've had a few people think like, oh, they're both photographs, right? They think it's a trick question, but they're both photographs. But nobody ever thinks they're both painted, you know. So it's pretty good. It's a pretty good question to start with.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So to break the ice, basically.
Well, I guess I'll check out your YouTube.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Thanks
See you
for
later.
stopping, man.
Of course.
Yeah, have a good one.
You too.
All right, man.